compelling detective story, a cloak and dagger action, and a romantic drama, all these stories were taken from real life. The history of Kazakhstan is inseparable from the world history. Reflections on history, our version.
I pursued great fame. It spread from the Volga ranks to Akrau, from Kazan to Irgis. Sometimes he distinguished himself as a coachman or a peasant. There were a lot of rebels and mere bandits in a rebellious steppe. However, poet Grigori Dejavon, who was one of the pillars of Russian literature, never was a fragile or a gentle romantic. He was the opposite of that. Dejavon was a spirited person having a fiery soul. At that time, he was an unknown Guard sub-lieutenant. He wanted to gain promotion and needed money. However, all his services were in vain. They were even going to hang him together with Pugachev. In general, it was an adventurous but unsuccessful enterprise. Dejavon participated in pursuing Pugachev too. He wanted to rise prominence and make some achievements in his life too. He was a lieutenant and headed 3 platoons during battles. Chapter 1. The Smoke of the Fatherland. It was possible to get to Dejavon's study through a wardrobe. There were a few secret doors here because it was convenient for the owner. When all the doors were closed, it seemed that you were in a completely closed room. The poet himself invented it. Dejavon's country estate was in St. Petersburg. It seemed that there wasn't anyone to hide from, but perhaps habit became second nature. Of course, being adventurous to a certain extent was typical of Dejavon. In addition, he tended to be theatrical. He called himself Attila's descendant and Mirza. A line from his poem says, "Bagrim was my forefather." Dejavon was proud of his ancestors. Golden Horde Ibrahim Mirza, who was Kipchak, was his ancestor. Honestly, his genius thought in Tatar, at least Pushkin said so. Dejavon had been born in Kazan, but it is unclear whether he could speak the Turkic dialects. Of course, there were manuscripts he had collected and some Tatar folklore in his archives. His father died early and his son inherited his debts. Dejavon was a soldier in the Guard regiment where he did dirty work, as he said himself, made poetry. He was good at science and susceptible to life. He was rake, spendthrift, brawler and a gambler. He even lost the money, which his mother had given him to buy an estate. I got acquainted with robbers who taught me to conspire and commit forgeries and various gambling frauds. However, either my conscience or my mother's prayers never allowed me to indulge in brazen theft or treacherous betrayal. 30 years old was a decent age. He had become an officer and a little while ago had no money. His future looked quite gloomy. Meanwhile, the situation in the country was unstable. It was 1773 and Imelan Pugachev's rebellion was in full swing. Bibikov headed government troops assigned to capture Pugachev. Dejavon's audacious plan was implemented. The unknown sub-lieutenant did not only manage to meet Bibikov, but also became a special assignment officer under him. Chapter 2. A brave person's position is sacred. Is there a lieutenant among the guests? He is tall, elegant, and his carriage is upright, face is oval, thin, and he's not older than 30. Bibikov asked casually. Yes, it's Dejavon. It's unknown what attracted Bibikov's interest to him. Perhaps it was because he knew the places where Pugachev threw his weight about and probably spoke the Turkic language. Dejavon was an intelligent officer. The military command used his literary skills. He was assigned to write letters to the Kalmyk people and the Bashkirs to convince them not to support Pugachev.
Чтобы такие письма, чтобы они не поддерживали Пугачева.
The situation was disastrous in the steppe region. The villages were robbed and burnt, some towns were besieged and others were occupied by the rebels, and there were piles of unburied bodies. People were waiting for the troops sent to repress the rebellion. Actually, it was difficult to understand who helped the rebels and who suffered from them. Yaik Cossacks revolted in the area from Iletsk to Gurev. Troops were not positioned there, and the Kyrgyz Kaysaks took advantage of that and started robbing farms, stealing cattle and capturing dwellers. Malikovka village was recaptured from Pugachev. It was the place of more or less permanent deployment. First, Dejavon ordered public execution. The execution was carried out in a theatrical manner. Those who were being executed were in shrouds, candles were burning, and they were going among the crowd. Although there were not many soldiers in Dejavon's troops, none of the local residents dared to move because they were provided with an overwhelming impression.
В общем-то, никто из местных жителей даже шелохнуться не мог. Такое вот впечатление все это произвело на них.
Some other actions were taken in Kazan, Saratov, Gurev and Yaitsk. It is impossible to name the exact places because the area of Dejavon's activity was too obscure in respect of geography and all the other matters. Although he visited some places, the information about them was not recorded. His activity at that time seems quite mysterious. It was necessary to know about Pugachev's troops. It was in the steppe, there were strangers, and Dejavon was riding in a carriage. He told his servant to find out about the situation, and the servant got frightened.
Тогда Державин быстренько выпрыгнул.
Dejavon jumped out of the carriage. Then he stood in the driver's seat, and when they were passing by, he grabbed one of the assumed rebels and pushed him into the carriage and interrogated him in there.
Мимо одного из, значит, предполагаемых бунтовщиков или просто крестьян схватил того за шиворот, засунул тоже в карету и там уже допросил.
He seems that he organized a kind of spy network in Pugachev's home front. Your activity includes being cunning, gentle, quite secretive, and your actions should not be overt. You must not frighten the dwellers and try and worm their secret thoughts out of them. The main aim was to catch the main rebel and render him harmless. Of course, they had to be extremely careful. The most important reports were written in code. It was a numerical secret writing. Yes, it was a numerical secret writing. They had a large table of keys. As a rule, the names of cities and people were written in numbers. The numbers 225-31 stood for Pugachev. There were secret reports and orders. They found out about the rebels' plans using persuasions and sometimes threats. They paid close attention to nomads' detachments. Said Ali Sultan, as well as Nur Ali Khan and Aychuvay Khan, visited Pugachev's seat where they conducted negotiations. A lot of correspondence between them has remained. I have been informed that this rebel sent his harmful manifesto to the Kyrgyz Kaysaks, asking them to provide him with refuge and promising to give them the steppe spreading from behind the Yaik to the Volga River. On September the 18th, 1773, a manifesto calling upon the Kazakh people to fight and support him was sent. They gave him their support. They considered him the Russian sovereign because his orders and documents focused on giving land to the Kazakhs and solving the argument with the Cossacks.
Передавали казахам в пользование полную землю и решали их споры с казачеством.
Dejavon conducted a few bold operations. During one of them, he liberated about 1,000 German colonists who had been captured by the Kazakh detachment supporting Pugachev. Lieutenant Dejavon defeated the Kyrgyz people near the Karaman River. Dejavon assigned 120 people to follow those who were seen near the Karaman to the Urgiz River. In this way, a friendship between the renowned poet and a famous military leader who unintentionally ruined Dejavon's plans aimed at success was established in the Turkic steppe near the Ural River. Chapter 3. What started victorious ended in failure. The activities of the enterprising lieutenant were so successful that Pugachev placed a price of 10,000 rubles on Dejavon's head. However, when pursuing Pugachev, Dejavon was almost captured too. When Pugachev heard about the guard officer, he immediately changed horses and ran away, and together with 4 Cossacks started pursuing him. One of the Cossacks accompanying Dejavon was stabbed by Pugachev. It was luck that Dejavon remained alive. However, he still could not accomplish the main task. Without being provided with troops or giving sanction, Dejavon decided to rescue Yaitsk town from besieged by rebels. He was capable of making decisions quickly and tended to take upon himself the most difficult tasks. When approaching the town, he found out that General Mansurov had already liberated Yaitsk. Dejavon's protector died at the same time. When Bibikov had been alive, Dejavon played quite a big part, which did not correspond to his rank at all. The last expedition had ended in failure too. His people had had to join the rebels and catch the imposter, but Dejavon's detachment came 2 days late. Pugachev's comrades in arms betrayed him. They captured Pugachev, bound him and brought him to Yaitsk town. Dejavon hurried to Yaitsk, but this time Suvorov outran him and took Pugachev to Moscow. He accompanied him to Moscow in a cage. Poet Dejavon, who served with him, also went with Pugachev to Moscow, where he would be executed. Actually, Dejavon was the first who informed about capturing the rebel. However, confusion about the system of superiority arose and the heads themselves competed with each other. As a result, everybody started hating Dejavon. Count Panin even said that he should be hanged for betrayal and was going to take him to the court, but could not find a proper reason. He contributed to protecting Kyrgyz villages and settlements behind the Volga from complete destruction, liberated about 1,000 prisoners, twice provided troops with provisions and saved Malikov treasury from plunder. Besides this, he spent very little money provided by the state, not more than 600 rubles. However, nobody wanted to notice his merit. The rationally planned enterprise, which seemed successful, ended in a complete failure. When Pugachev burnt Kazan, Dejavon's house burnt too. His service was not awarded and Dejavon only had 50 rubles left and gambled them. As a result, he won 40,000 rubles. He did not like to give in. He also wrote a letter to Potyomkin, the Empress's favorite, and gave it to him personally when he forcibly burst into the prince's dressing room. This had an unexpected result. He was considered unfit for military service and was given an estate in Belarusia. It was the end of the renowned poet's adventures in the steppes near the Ural. Epilogue. Not imitating your mirzas. In any case, Kyrgyz Kazakh steppes helped Dejavon not in soldiering but in a different field. The blessed queen of the Kyrgyz Kazakh horde. It was the beginning of Felitsa Ode written by some Tatar Mirza. Catherine II liked it very much. "I am reading it and crying like a fool," she said. She sent him a gold snuff box inlaid with diamonds. She signed the present in the following way: from the Kyrgyz Queen to Dejavon Mirza. After that, his successful career started. He became a senator, then a privy councillor and a minister of justice. I pursued great fame and bravely met shots with my forehand. Intoxicated with this bestial poison, I was a real fool.